So we recently passed the 50th anniversary of President Johnson announcing a war on poverty, and Fox News and the Republicans are commemorating it. I don't think they necessarily understand what the point of the war was, because they, rather than fighting for policies that would help the poor, have decided to single out each day on Fox different segments of the poor population and attack them. Today we have John Stossel, who wants to single out single mothers. Let's watch.
They taught women better not have a man in your house because you'll get more money if there's no guy there. And so people adjusted their behavior. And now they want more handout. What didn't work, the handouts, they want to do more of. And my point is that you're going to get income inequality when people are free. Some people will do much better than others. And that's okay, because under that system, the poor do better too.
Well, John Stossel is very good at identifying the fat cats at the bottom and going right at them. He's really good. He really knows who's got it coming. You know, it's the people without a pot to piss in that you got to keep your eye on. Those are the ones, because they're stealing all the money and spending it quickly.
And just whenever they get the money, they just go buy one of those pots.
Again.
To put a chicken in.
Yeah, right.
But Stossel also talks about how the poor do so much better under what he envisions as good economic policy. The poor do not do better under economic. The poor never or rarely do better unless they're recognized and given a helping hand. And as a people, as a nation, if it's a poor nation, it's the same thing. So it's turning a blind eye to that.
And is his point that the poor in the United States do better than the poor in sub-Saharan Africa? Therefore, our system rocks?
Right.
That appears to be what he's saying.
They do better because we don't have disease here. And
you
know, that's about the only way to do better.
We don't have a fly problem.
Right.
That's his big point.
And he also thinks, by the way, they're doing just fine. Let's take away all of their benefits. Presumably, they might not do quite as well once those are taken away, but that's...
So is there anything, like, as a human being, you know, like, is there anything worse than being a millionaire sitting in a $1 billion studio telling everybody that the poor have it really good? Is there anything worse as a human being that you could do besides maybe rape your own daughter? So John Stossel, just one notch above a guy who rapes his own daughter. That's John Stossel. That's who John Stossel. He cannot stop telling people that poor people are scammers and that they've got it really good.
And bear in mind, this is the guy who goes out on the street and poses as a homeless man to show how good the homeless have it.
That you can, that if you beg every day for 8 hours a day in New York City, you'll make $23,000 a year, tax-free. That's what John Stossel says. Because you know who needs the tax savings? It's the homeless. They're always getting screwed at tax time. So that's just John Stossel, and he is one niche above a guy who rapes his own daughter.
You know, it's like income inequality has grown in this country. There's always been a problem because like kids are born into poverty, they're born into deep poverty, and then their kids are born into deep poverty. And anyone who has spent 10 minutes in any public school in any neighborhood that is dealing with significant abject poverty like that knows that the education system is horrible and there's absolutely no way out. And his idea is the reason that we have this growing income inequality is that we have tried to help the most vulnerable of those people.
It's not that we're giving $85 billion a month to Wall Street and asking them to help fix our economy. That's not welfare. When you say, hey, you guys can make whatever risky bets, you can turn investment banking into casino hopping, you can spend your lunch hours at strip clubs and fucking, no problem. We're going to give you all the money in the world. It's the single mothers who have been, you know what's wrong with Detroit? It's filled with a bunch of Sarah Palin daughters. That's what the fucking problem is. It's all these unwed mothers, right? It's Bristol Palin's fucking everything up. That's what John Stossel is saying is the problem.
Well, and it's not just that it seems immoral to say that they're the big problem. It's also completely inaccurate to say that. Now, yesterday we showed you on the first hour of the Young Turks how Louis Gohmert's saying that women are intentionally having more children out of wedlock to get welfare checks. We showed you that there's a scientific study showing that's not true. Now, John Stossel...
It's not true yet they repeat it?
Yes, they keep repeating it.
That's weird.
No, the research that we highlighted was from 90s.
It's a scientific study, too.
Oh, you got them. That's probably one of those liberal science books.
Well, we've got more numbers, actually, specifically about what he's talking about.
You just mentioned that very quick. I know you're going to get to the numbers, but I mean, how... This guy's a reporter. I mean, this guy, for a while, was respected among smart people. I don't know smart people.
He was a local news reporter in New York when I was growing up. Then he was national ABC.
Yeah, at ABC, we have a friend who worked with him who didn't hate him at the time. Although, that friend. But, like, I mean, to be able to take...
Kissinger?
It was, totally, to take these anecdotal stories, because they exist. I'm sure that you can find 478 mothers in this country who had another kid because they thought they'd get more money out of the 26 million mothers who got benefits from that. And this guy gets on TV, and everybody just thinks it's okay. Well, he's got nothing.
And they glom onto these exceptions. You know, it was the same thing with voter ID. Yes, there were some exceptions. There were people who were fraudulent voters.
Yeah, we found like 33 cases in the last 4 elections.
That's what happens, and then they get on them. The same thing with what Ben said. Like, when you have SNAP, when you have food stamps, here's one guarantee. One guarantee: people will abuse them. All right, but here's another guarantee: it's going to make life better for so many people, and tolerable,
and not just people who get it.
Tolerable for people. And the other part, you open with LBJ, John. There's nobody in politics. That was 50 years ago. Then RFK, ironically, in response to LBJ, comes out with his war on poverty and his tour of impoverished parts of the country in the Mississippi Delta. Then there's nothing. And then there was John Edwards. Ironically, John Edwards. Who had this conversation about two Americas and inequality, and that was the tragedy of John Edwards, that he fucked everything up because he had a really good message. And not that he was ever going to be president. There was a lot wrong with him, and he gave everybody the creeps when he was a running mate at different times. But the point is, now it's not part of a political conversation from the top. And this president, I think, he still has 2 years left, but it should be a big part of the conversation.
Yes, and most presidents get most of their shit done in the last 2 years. Here,
3, by the way, 3 years left.
But I want to I would love to say to John Stossel and any these guys who try to say that the war against poverty was a big failure. So Medicare is part of that war on poverty. Yeah. So Medicare, by the way, before Medicare, 33% of senior citizens lived in poverty. 10 years after the institution of Medicare, that number had dropped to 11%. Astonishing success. No one talks that Medicare is part of the war on poverty. No one talks about
one
that.
Of the biggest battles
we're going to get to that right now.
American history, I think.
Right.
Yeah, and also I want to repeat, we had a great TYT Live comment yesterday that they love to say that these women, these single women who are choosing to have an additional child to get a check, like that's exactly the life choice that a lazy woman who doesn't want to work would do, have another child. Because it's not work to raise a child. It doesn't. No, you don't even care, right? It doesn't affect your day.
Yeah, I forget I have a kid, right?
So
I gotta go.
So John Stossel talks about the women. They just want these checks. Like they're choosing to stay single. They're not getting married, so they can get government checks. They're having the children. Well, it's not that those checks go.
By the way?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Well, that's the question. Do you know how much they are? The average welfare check or the?
I don't have that number here in front of me right now, but I do have the distribution. And so he would like to pretend that these checks just go out there and then, God, who knows who they go to. But we do actually know who they go to. So we've got some data coming from the Washington Post. The checks that he's talking about, 53% go to people over 65 years old. 20% go to disabled people, 18% to working people, leaving just 9% for non-disabled, non-working people, the sort of person that John Stossel went on Fox News to denigrate. So even if a little bit of it is happening, it's an inconsequentially small percentage of it.
So he knows those numbers, by the way. John Stossel knows those numbers. He's a reporter. He's reporting on this story. I'm sure he bumped into those numbers.
Yeah, I found them after about 5 minutes of research, actually.
You mentioned, and I'm thinking of a friend of mine in Atlanta who I like a lot, who is a friend of mine, and very conservative.
Ron White?
Very conservative, right? Still, it's Ron White, yeah. I know that if we were in this argument, as soon as I said what you said there, but we do have some stats for the Washington Post, they'd be like, the Washington Post. It's automatic, and I don't know, maybe John Stossel,
that's
who's really dim.
I think that's irreparable. I don't know what's going to change that.
I don't know what's going to change that.
The people, when people have a knee-jerk reaction to the sourcing of things.
They have a knee-jerk reaction to science. No, are you shitting me?
To the numbers at all.
No, but what I'm saying, they have knee-jerk reactions to everything.
Yeah, but
But I do too. I mean, I have a knee-jerk reaction if I hear something, an editorial in the Wall Street Journal today. I couldn't.
Yeah, but it's not the same thing.
It's an editorial.
I know it's not the same thing, but I hear the Wall Street Journal.
Yeah, that's true.
Although Wall Street Journal does have good reporters.
Yes, but if there was a fact printed in the Wall Street Journal and someone said, "Look at this fact that debunks your ideas," you would go, "Well, let me look at that fact, and I'll check it out. And if it does that, I'll change my opinion." That's what grown-ups do. And so that's the problem I think with our body politic right now. I don't. You know, I think
I don't think any,
liberal
nothing.
education,
It's too late because what won't happen. What won't happen is the gatekeepers and the Fourth Estate, right? They've completely decided to go both sides. Like, we're going to just play it even. So if these guys say that science is real and these guys saying isn't, we're going to pretend like both sides are equal. So this has been happening in and that's what's wrong with, I think, our politics right now, is there is no watchdog anymore. They bought the watchdog, and the watchdog no longer says those guys are crazy and full of shit, and we don't know what a fact is anymore.
What changes is getting to a point where we ignore those people, because they're not half the. It's not half the people. It's not.
But it's not up to us to ignore them. It's up to what we now consider the reasonable people within their circle.
Right, but it's up to what Jimmy said. It's up to the Fourth Estate or the Fifth Estate?
Fourth Estate.
The Fourth Estate. I should know.
Yes.
Never sure. I'm glad this was an informative show.
Yes.
It's up to the Fourth Estate. Who's the Fifth Estate?
The Fifth Estate
Jews.
was Gladys Knight.
It was the Jews. John's right. It was the Jews.
You're right.
Yeah, I think. It's on Wikipedia.
That's who it's up to.
I'm going
and
to
also,
a Fifth Estate sale this week, actually.
like a recognition that we don't need to respond in. Look, I get it. You can't ignore the fact that Republicans have a majority in the House of Representatives, and that we have a lot of conversations that we like pretend that that's not a thing that exists. But you don't act like that's a reasonable point to have. And at some point, because I already think things are way better, because these conversations that we have about false equivalence, we have them every day. We have them all the time. Like, people now know what that phrase means. 5 years ago, that was not a phrase that anyone uttered. And now, every time it happens, at least online,
it's almost a tired
Twitter,
phrase now.
I know, I'm getting tired of it. But it's good. Like, again, they succeeded, because from 1979 until 2000, they just yelled and yelled and yelled and never stopped. And now there's some pushback. So that's just an answer to what do we do about it.
Yeah, look, I think in a perfect world, kids would be raised and educated to be critical thinkers enough that they can look at the information, look at the source, and do additional research and find out for themselves. I think that a good first step towards that is to, at least when you hear an assertion, think, is there information that would have some bearing on that? And so that's why I know that it's probably starting to annoy you that every time we talk about something, I bring up some research that I found on it, but I want to drill into our already smarter audience that when you hear something like women have kids on purpose to get checks, or single mothers get all of the welfare, is there information that would support or reject that assertion? And there almost always is, and so that's why I like to highlight that stuff.